we live in a Me Too world. We live in a world, he's not being charged with punching a bartender in the face. He's not being accused of punching a gang member in the face. He's being accused of domestic violence against a woman, and let alone a white woman. Let's just call it
a white woman. Let's say it.
Let's call it a white woman with blonde hair.
No.
You made it into Marvel Studios, into the Marvel universe, and you're not a one and done. Your character is going to stretch. You are the main villain for all of their upcoming films. So there's a hell of a lot riding on it, considering Marvel can't associate themselves with a domestic abuser, a guy who hits women. They just can't. So yeah, on the surface, this is a misdemeanor. But I can guarantee you that just as we speak about basketball players violating morals clauses in their contracts, I'm sure he has something very similar in his contract. And they're waiting to see the outcome. And that morals clause, it's a moving scale, because what really constitutes you violating a morals clause? It could be anything, truth be told. And if he is found guilty, you can almost best believe that they are going to recast him with somebody who bears his likeness. And there will be a new king, and his days of being a Hollywood A-lister will probably be done. So I'll probably be carrying that Bible too.
Listen, I think you're right. I think he should just ditch Megan Good and just walk in with his pastor. Just go full, walk in hand to hand with your pastor, because you're right. A lot is riding on this. A lot. So maybe that's just me being cynical. You saw Johnny Depp in the same situation. He had so much to lose as well from these false allegations from Amber Heard. A lot of men are in these types of situations. A woman's word carries a lot of power. We're talking about Soulja Boy. Did it happen? Did it not happen? Who knows? But when a woman speaks in this society, a lot of people are willing to get in line and co-sign that and to really believe it, whether or not it's true.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm so happy you brought up the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. Johnny Depp had the money to fight. He was found guilty, I believe, in the UK, in London, of laying hands on Amber. But he brought it back to the US, and he did it. I don't need the money. I'm not working. I'm literally blackballed by Hollywood. Disney dropped me. I'm Captain Jack Sparrow. And they literally kicked me out of the Pirates of the Caribbean movie that I'm the main character in. I can't get work. And if it were not for him having millions and millions and millions of dollars to bring on the legal team that he brought on, to bring on all of the experts, the private investigators, the people who aggregated all of the text messages and films and went through tons and tons of metadata and photos showing, you said he beat you on August 1st? Well, August 1st in the evening, you were here dolled up. Where's the beating at? But he had the money to do it. And he spent tons of money just to be able to get his name and his reputation back in Hollywood. So absolutely, Jonathan Majors has a hell of a lot riding on this case.
100%. Totally agree.
Okay, before we let you up out of here, you made the statement that a woman's word, it carries a hell of a lot of power. Um, here we go again. Bill Cosby. He's accused of sexual assault by 9 women in Nevada. Another lawsuit brought up against this man. Is it ever going to end? Like Bill Cosby, is it, here we go again.
Yeah, it's never going to end for him. It's just never going to end for him. For multiple reasons. Number one, he was doing things in the 70s that are not socially acceptable today. Now, whether they were socially acceptable in the 70s, it's a different question, but they're certainly not in 2023. And people are trying to crucify him for that. In fact, legislatures are rolling back laws. They're changing statute of limitation laws so that these types of cases can be brought. And so that's why these 9 women in Nevada are able to bring this case, because the legislature changed the statute of limitation requirements, which allows these cases to be brought to light. So, of course, they're saying that Bill Cosby, drugged them and had sex with them, right? So they're alleging all types of sexual abuse violations, false imprisonment violations, and he's in some trouble. Not only does he have to defend himself against these cases in Nevada, but I think California, he's got cases out there that are starting up. And I want to say in another state, maybe New York as well, he's got more cases just like this that are coming up. He recently lost a case like this. He was found liable for sexually assaulting this 16-year-old at the Playboy Mansion in 1975. Now, 75 apparently was a different era, because I don't know what the hell a 16-year-old is doing at the Playboy Mansion, right? But from an attorney's point of view, I think how are you supposed to defend yourself against something that happened in 1975? I wasn't even born yet. Almost none of the viewers of this channel were born in 75. And this woman is saying, hey, when I was 16, you did this to me. How are you going to mount your defense? You don't have any witnesses that you can call on, especially in a he said, she said case like this. 1975, you don't have any forensics. 1975, you don't have any videotape evidence. 1975, you don't have any cell phone GPS evidence to show you were not at the Playboy Mansion at that time. You were 20 miles down the street. It is almost impossible for you to collect the evidence that you need to properly defend yourself when you're being charged with a case that happened 25, 23, what's that? 47 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. You can't do it.
It's 48 years ago. So I got 2 questions for you. And I appreciate you being so gracious with your time. Number one, with all of the things that you just said, does that work in his favor? Because it almost sounds like it's hard for him to mount a defense, but it can work in the opposite direction as well. Like, a jury, how can we take this woman's word? I don't know that Bill Cosby was there. There's no forensics, there's no anything. So that's number one. And number two, he's 85 years old. And I purposely asked you, does this ever end for him? And you said, no, it doesn't. after his death, I mean, the man's legally blind. He has major health issues. I don't know how much longer he's going to be around. After his death, if he is not found guilty of these things, does it continue? Can people get money out of him? Or does it just all go away when he finally passes away?
Yeah, regarding your first question, if I understood it, you were asking, does the fact that so much time has passed, can that help him in a certain way? Um, in a sense, because all of us are like, wait a minute now. You got violated when you were in 1975. Fine. You were 16, so maybe you were too young. Fine. But you turned 18 at some point. You turned 21 at some point. You turned 25 at some point, 30 years old at some point. You didn't bring any of these charges. You wait damn near 50 years to sue this man. There's going to be a part of us, a part of some of us that's going to look at that kind of side eye, kind of, that's sketchy, right? But again, we go to the value of a woman's word, and especially if she's white. Shout out to you talking about if she's got blonde hair, right? Playboy mansion, blue eyes. I still don't know what a teenager's doing at the Playboy mansion, but it was a different time back then. And she won the case. She won $500,000 from Cosby on that. So can it help Cosby? A little bit, I suppose, because we're all going to be a little suspicious, but it doesn't help enough to counterbalance the way he's being prejudiced, right? And listen, you just said, and you're exactly right, Cosby's an elderly man now. He's blind, got millions and millions of dollars. The jury is going to think, fine, $500,000, you can afford it. But the problem with that is a jury gives her $500,000, and now you got all these women in Nevada now. You got all these women in California now. You got all these women in New York now. Why would it stop? Why would it stop? It's never going to stop. Now, when he passes away, there's really no one to sue. It's not like he can defend. It's not like they can sue his estate for these things because he's not going to be there to mount a defense, which is maybe another reason why so many women are starting to come out of the woodworks now, because someone could think he doesn't have long to live. Hopefully he lives a much longer life, but usually when we reach the age of 85, we don't have another 100 years. So sometimes you have to get while the getting is good. He has very deep pockets, and he's vulnerable, as all of these celebrities are who have money. If you have deep pockets, there's a line of lawyers looking at those pockets. And this woman who sued for $500,000, it's probably the case that she didn't pay her attorney 1 cent on the front end. The attorney just sat back and got a nice contingency fee. So the attorney ate, the woman ate. I mean, I'm not good at math, but if you were 16 in 1975, how old are you today? I mean, what are you just in the 70s, 80s? I don't want to do the math on the camera, but you're old as hell. And a lot of women are just going to start going forward because there's no disincentive. If you don't have to pay your attorney, if your attorney will say, hey, man, I'll do this case for free, in the sense that you don't have to pay me anything, I'll just collect on the back end. If you're a 60-year-old woman, 70-year-old woman, what do I have to lose? DeSantis down in Florida is trying to cut my alimony off. Let me get some new alimony from Bill, right? Let me go sue him and see what we got going on. So it's a tough situation for him, and I don't think it's ever going to stop with these states creating these new statute of limitation laws, which allows you to be sued for things that happened in the 70s, and you can be sued in court in 2023. Good luck defending yourself. I don't know how you're going to do it.
Well, I asked you a question earlier, and I just want clarity because I'm not sure that you answered it directly. If he passes away before any of these new cases, these 9 additional women, and God knows how many other women are going to come out the woodwork before he finally leaves this earth, does it just stop, or can they sue his estate? Is his wife going to have to carry the burden of financially of people just never ever stop bringing cases against this man? How does it work?
Right. The case would be moot because he's passed away. He has a right to defend himself. He has the right to make these women put up a good case and convince the judge or the jury, by the preponderance of the evidence or whatever the standard is in whatever state that they're in. And if he's not there, then that's a violation of his due process rights because he's passed away. So, we talked about it before in another segment where you really need to hear both sides. I forget what we were talking about, but we were talking about Melly's case. And right now it's not looking good for Melly, right? But we have not heard Melly's defense. So maybe when Melly's defense team gets their chance to make their case, maybe the pendulum turns. Melly has that right. In this case with Bill, if he's not around, then he's not going to have that right, and his estate would not have those due process rights either. So it would be unfair to have his estate pay money for things, for events that he is not admitted to, not agreed to, and he's not here to protect the assets of that estate.
Understood. Okay, we covered a whole hell of a lot, and thank you so much for your legal insight and perspective on so many of these high profile cases. I learned a lot. I can assure you that, and I'm positive that so many people who are watching this and have watched it, would have learned a lot from just your expertise in this area. So I thank you, and I look forward to the next time we can sit down and do it again.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I enjoyed this conversation as well. I enjoyed this interview, and I'm ready, willing, and able to come back at any time.
Peace and love, my brother.
Yes.